Welcome to Shambhu Sessions, a podcast of inspiring conversations with musicians, artists, and visionaries of our time. I'm your host, Shambhu, guitarist and composer, and today I'm honored to welcome Michelle Qureshi. She's an award-winning, classically trained guitarist and composer who has released 20 albums and over 44 singles and EPs. Michelle performs both as a solo guitarist and as a presenter of transformative sound experiences. Her music fuses her classical training with an intuitive and improvisational approach. She has amassed tens of millions of streams across various global listening platforms. Michelle is deeply committed to a peaceful and contemplative lifestyle, and she infuses that spirit into her music. I've long admired her work, and I'm so pleased and honored to welcome a gifted guitarist and recording artist, Michelle Qureshi. Hey, it's great to finally meet you. How are you and where are you?
Great. It's lovely to see you kind of in person, as close as we've gotten versus the social platforms. And I'm just outside of Indianapolis, Indiana. We have lots and lots of snow, but with sunshine today, so the light's reflecting in pretty nicely. But yeah, here goes a plow
Must
truck.
Be cold there.
Oh, it's so cold. It's so cold. Like, I'm sure when we're done, I'm going to put my coat back on, even though I'm sitting in my studio.
Love that.
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
I kind of want to start with like the early part of your life. What drew you to guitar and to music in general?
I think it was kind of just a very innate connection to the instrument that is the guitar, even though when I was real little it was just toy guitars, and I would end up breaking them or getting them broken somehow or another. And it wasn't until I was like, we didn't have a lot of instruments in our family, just a love of music, in all kinds of styles. So I had a friend in elementary school, and they had this little guitar propped up in the corner of their living room, and I would just like look at it and look at it. And then I was of the time where the Beatles came out with a cartoon. I don't know if you remember that. And they had all the guitars forefront, and it was exciting. And I didn't get around to that actual instrument until I was 13. And then I bought my own guitar, and that just opened that love affair, that passion.
And was it always classical guitar? Like, did you study that from the outset?
No. Oh, no. And that was a huge learning curve. In fact, I got a hold of guitar and just started teaching myself and listening to the pop music, which was pretty cool in the 70s, and very guitar centric still. We had, I had electrics and 12 strings and mandolins and a pedal steel guitar. I just kept acquiring these things, teaching them, hanging out with other friends who played, doing that kind of back and forth with the experience with the guitar is such a social instrument, right? I mean, on the one hand, it's very personal and intimate and private, but in those days for me, it was social, And when I got to the university to study psychology, there were a couple people that play classical guitar but wanted to play just like pop songs, and I listened to some of their sounds on these nylon string guitars, and I was like, oh my god, what is this? So it took me like 3 semesters at a Big Ten university to say, I need to be studying guitar, I need to start over with classical. And essentially that's what my teachers did was, forget everything about how you're playing and learn this very rigorous way, which, I got through it. But then it was, I think now I'm a blend of both, like when I finally came in much later in my life, came into saying, hey, I'm going to start writing music, I'm going to start recording music. I had the intellectual understanding of how these instruments work, but I came back to that heart-centered, that intuitive sense of how to play and why I play, and less of that really tough criticism that that you're taught. You're taught to care about which finger hit which fret at what time, and did you execute it correctly. And it was an intense, especially for somebody who was like, hey, I could sit on my front porch and play, and I was good with that, but I just thought I need more, and then I pushed myself into that more.
You also doing like folk music and singing and things like that? Or did you ever play in
Not so
bands?
much. Yeah, I did play in bands, and they're just like some of those bands. It's just when I think back, I'll get a flash of being in one. I'm like, oh my goodness, I totally forgot about that experience or that experience. And yeah, yeah. In my teenage years, I was in one band where the drummer was a guy from the Buckinghams. Because I was in the
Hmm.
Chicago area, and they were just like, or I would go play with. I remember going to a studio in like the South Side of Chicago. Where there was this really lovely jazz band in Gary, Indiana, because I was born in Hammond. And I played with them a little bit, but I'm like, I don't know what I played, how I played, And it wasn't like anything was induced by anything. Like what I'm saying is, I never took drugs or anything like that, so it's not like a wipe out of my memory. It's just like it's just that journey, just doing everything and anything that was an opportunity. I didn't sing too much because I kind of felt that was such a stereotype at that time. I wanted people to like believe that I was a guitar player, first and foremost. um, I, I don't mind singing. I don't do it too much on my albums, but the guitar is the heartfelt thing until I started these sound immersions, and then but that's much later. So
So
yeah.
you're in college, you're studying classical now. When did you kind of move into the idea of ambient new age sounds?
That really just, like that really started only when I started writing the music I write now. And those first albums came out in 2012. They were a product of being able to have a home studio, and like start getting like the minimal, a mic and a keyboard and this and that, and just slowly build it with what I made from my music. And I played a lot in the beginning, like to accompany yoga studios, just my guitar, and expanded on that by recording music that was multi-layered. And to do that, I started learning other instruments, and things evolved that way. But I really didn't listen to this kind of music growing up. And it's just kind of like the intersection of, like you said, a peaceful lifestyle, contemplative, doing meditation, doing yoga, kind of, walking the talk of the music. It's kind of like just unfolded at the same time. And I'm very much invested in that kind of, the kind of sounds that I think serve people the best. Yeah.
Was it
Serve
the
them.
contemplative lifestyle that helped to birth this kind of music in you?
I wonder. That's a good question, because it's like, which brought it on first? Did I start playing? I was never a wild cat, anyways. But just to turn more inward, I think. I think I was, in terms of numerology and astrology and Vedic astrology, all of it points to this like innate ability to improvise and bring these musical gifts and this sense of healing. I mean, it's in my chart, it's in my blood, and it's not something I thought about or had a aha moment. It was more like what opportunities began to reveal this more.
Got it. And you're an incredibly prolific composer, especially this year. You just have so much content coming out. What inspires your songs? Like, what do you draw from when you get in the studio? Nature, spirit, emotions, dreams, your heart. What drives you when you're sitting down to write?
I think one thing that is like the biggest inspiration, and I don't hear people say this a lot, but the biggest inspiration for me is the sound. So if you pick up your guitar, and we can talk a lot guitar, because I'm sure in your background is very spiritual too. So, every time I pick it up, when I have the time to like, okay, meditate into this, something new emerges, and that sound inspires the next sound, and I just kind of like the flow, and the fingers know. So it's, yeah, it's great to forest bathe, or if I bundle up, walk in the snow and then come back, but nothing, um, nothing directly inspires me more than just sound and feelings. It is also such a way of processing emotions for me when I play. So a lot of times I'm playing for me, and then it's like, yay, this I can share this, and hopefully it'll feel good to other people or to move them in some way. Yeah.
But your intention is upliftment.
Yeah, especially lately. It hasn't always been. And, in my catalog, because it's so big, you can definitely delve into more ambient, kind of darker things. But the last bit of time, I don't really want to um, delve into darker modes. I just don't. I think we need more and more light right now. I really think we do. I think the whole world is in this big process of change, and I want to be on the still thoughtful side and not ignoring like things. I'll do a sound immersion, and because I play off the energy of the people present, I'm not always in control of something that might come out a little darker. So I understand we still have to process those feelings. But, when I'm on one of my keyboards and I'm, looking for a sound to inspire, I'm less and less inclined for these kind of like these fear-based kind of sounds. Do you know what I mean by that? Like they're
I
great for a
do.
movie trailer, but they start vibrating in me, and I'm like, it doesn't it's not resonating now. There's less resonance with the dark sides of things.
So tell me a little bit about your studio setup.
Well, it's ever evolving, and right now I think it's in a pretty good space. And because it's at home, my music can be very piecemeal. I've never sat and walked into a outside studio where someone else is behind the console, and so I'm always it's all right in that room across from here, and this room is more for practicing. It's wider open with my guitars. But yeah, I just have a simple 2 mic setup and just keep trying to better those mics, try to have a better audio interface, like money in from streaming, as long as that takes, becomes money out for improvement in my studio. And I think, it, with what's available for home studios these days, a Mac studio and, good monitors, you can do so much. You really, really can. Yeah.
Are you mixing also?
Mostly mixing. I've sent some things out for mastering, like something that's about to come out is I had Tom Eaton at Sound and Substance, and he mixed and mastered my guitar album Within that was on a different label from
Well, that
2020.
increased
That
your budget.
Yeah, yeah, it sure did. So yeah. So I handle what I can, but I also recognize that there's strength in collaborations, and in the process, and in being part of this kind of small community that wants to put out quality music, even knowing it's not always gonna, pay for itself. So
Yeah. Now tell me about what kind of guitars you're playing now.
sure. I've had, I think from about 2015, I've had what's called a Stonebridge guitar, but it's actually a Czech-made guitar from the Firk studio in Prague, I guess. And it was something about it's a beautiful steel string acoustic. Um, but it was marketed through a Canadian company. I don't know if it was just the name recognition or something. And they have since, like, they don't rep them anymore. And so I don't really have anybody repping the guitar I play, because I'm in that little middle ground. It says Stonebridge, but it was made by Firk. It's what any steel string stuff you hear on my albums, it's on that from 2015 on. So that's a really neat one. And then I have also by that company, they're a nylon string that I mostly gig with. And let's see, the one back here is called a Maestro, made in Singapore by a maker, Hosen, who I met at the Guitar Summit in Chicago this summer. First time to meet him. Um, but it's not that extensive, It's not like I can't swap good guitar stories with other guitarists who know everything, like, the nooks and crannies, or what is this inlay or that, or what kind of wood. I'm just like, it's a guitar. I love it. If it sounds good, I'm content. Yeah.
And your live performances are these sound healings, and you've been doing that since college, or when did you
Oh,
start
no, no,
doing
no,
those?
no. That is much, much later. So I did, like, I was doing some when I started writing these albums, and my first adventure was playing, these instrumental music in the yoga studios and whatnot. And then I started writing songs, and many people locally had me for house concerts. And that was fun. But that kind of faded. And then I also stopped doing, like, playing and doing my songs in wineries and things where it wasn't quiet. It's like, okay, this isn't that anymore. And the progression from there, because where I'm at, the Indiana and this area, it's a big sport thing. People, it's a little bit hard to garner interest in the arts, and some people might not like that I'm saying that, but I'm living it. I play for art galleries or openings or book things, or a lot of like new church services, and I've did a lot of that for a while. And then I was thinking, okay, how can I directly kind of serve people who want this, like, an experience in music in a more healing modality, and how can I also serve myself by being able to improvise on all the instruments I bring to these events. And so it's kind of a win-win. We all get something out of it. I get to kind of play and practice playing off my intuition and the energy of the people present. And depending on, like, I have some people here, one well-known woman who's does a meditation podcast. And I mean, I can count on her and several others to have, astral trips and really, really interesting, connect with people on the other side. And then I can also have people who will a little bit doze off and feel great after an hour. So, the agenda is kind of loose, but I didn't start that till 2019. Yeah. And then 2020 hit, and then I slowly started building it back up. I have never done one, like, online, because I was concerned about the authenticity of the sound waves. Can they deliver? Would it work like that? So that's
And
still something I go back. Yeah.
you call them harmonic sound immersion
Hmm. Yeah,
events.
exactly.
Are these where you do you actually play an instrument, record it, layer it, and keep layering stuff, or you play one instrument at a time?
No, I do. So I have a looper on my guitar, and most
Mm.
often, if I'm going to play on top of it, I'll start something out, improvisation on the guitar, maybe a couple layers on the guitar, and then I'll put the guitar on its stand and pick up a flute and walk around the
Mm.
room, or open the singing bowls or play, and then I'll fade that out, and then maybe just solo drone flute now, or I just get called on what to play. It's really beautiful and fun, when everything goes right. There has been one or two times when you step on that looper and it's not looping, and you're like, okay, what's happening? But you just gotta
Been
just
there.
say, hey, it's all, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I like to kind of be a little bit low tech, but still, be able to kind of play along with yourself, and create these longer moments, these experiences that are always unique, because it's improvised.
Now, because
Yeah.
you're improvising, do you find that some of these pieces that you create end up becoming songs?
Oh, because I don't really remember them.
You don't
No,
record it.
I don't record it, and I don't necessarily recall them. Yeah. Because to me, there's something about just, in that moment, not thinking about anything but that while you're doing it.
I mean, my approach in the studio is, like you, I try to get in a zone, an inner
Hmm.
zone, and
Mhm.
then I just start playing, and I record everything that I do.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah.
And then after 6 weeks, I'll listen to 10 hours worth of material, and I'll pick the stuff that touches me, and I'll try to turn those into songs. Other times, I'll hit on something while I'm recording,
Mhm.
and I'll spend 30 minutes putting it together.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I think the main thing is flexibility with your work setup, and being able to revisit it later to see what the impact is. I think that's also important because I know, like in this the frenzy of Spotify and people who want to create content and create content and create content, how do you let something breathe a little before you get it up there on the platforms? How do you come back to it a week later if it's already out, or a month later? I know for myself, the the initial listening stuff is so critical. So, you're so picky, and then I was visiting our friend Diane Garris in Tucson in the fall, right before
Yeah.
you actually, yeah. And we, I talked her into going to a place and where we could get a massage at a spa where we were staying. And at the end of for me, my massage was just about ending, and I was like, kind of zoned out. And then I'm like, wait, somebody took. Oh no, that is my music. I was like, who took a phrase of my music? And I realized it was ending with something from way back from Seventh Wave, you know. And because I didn't know it was mine initially, I was just
You had
letting
no idea they were
the
going to use your music?
no, 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 that they play it there,
How cool is that?
It was very cool, and also the judgment was couldn't get there, and because I couldn't say, oh, this is mine, and judge it. It was just like, this is beautiful, wait, this is mine. And then I just kept that open heart for it, and went out in the saltwater pool, and she played more and more, and it was really cool. Yeah. Yeah. so
Amazing.
so that's what I
So
say about the time, as the sound and the impact of a piece evolves with time, and I think you got to give it a little time before you throw it up for everybody to listen to, like you do. Like, so you're going to record, and then a while later you'll say, let me listen to 10 hours and see what hits this time.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
So what have been some of the standout moments in your career? I know some of the songs you put out in 2020 were picked up by Spotify playlists, which what a huge achievement. I mean, that added so much velocity to your growth, I bet. What
It
are some of the
really did. Yeah.
standouts?
Wow. That's a good question, and it's really, I don't look at the arc of it because I feel like I'm always like moving, evolving to the next thing without saying, okay, well that's done, or that was. I don't know what I'm expecting to feel like. Oh, that's an achievement. I mean, we get these nominations, we get these awards, but it's for music we did last year. My head is in new music. So I think in that way, it's really hard to say. I'll say that was getting music on Sirius XM was really exciting. Um, the Within album getting on the Spotify playlist, and
How did that
that was
happen?
luck.
It just
That
happened?
was luck. Yeah, that just happened. And
Well, I
hopefully
would
it'll
say it's
happen
luck,
some more.
but it's very deserved.
Well, I think, thank you. Thanks for that. We have to just like get ourselves in our most ready form, and then just have to have that luck or that discovery happen. So all you and I can do, we don't have control on this. All we can really do is put out our best stuff and hope it's recognized for that, and the rest is just like work on your next piece. you know Work on the next thing. Yeah.
So you have a lot of content coming out. You just put out Calm of Angels, beautiful piece.
Yeah, sweet little thing. It's doing pretty good already. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Uh-huh.
you've got a couple more singles coming out, All in a Day and then
hmm
Sparkle at Sunset. Tell me
hmm
about those songs.
Sure. Yeah, because the Calm of Angels that is already out. It's like, hey, how do I want to start this year off? and this goes back to me kind of like being on the keyboard and saying, that's fear-based kind of sound versus, like positive and full of light. So these are just sweet, mellow little ones all in a day. I just kind of tried to capture, again, it's very guitar based, a little more folksy in its vibe, but it drew on some inspiration. Now, finally, I'll say not just music inspiration, but I wrote a story about it recently on socials too, like about I chose this picture of me at the Grand Canyon with my arms extended, and the story about how the first time my daughter saw it, we had her, we got parked and said, okay, close your eyes, we're going to walk her, hold her side by side. And she wasn't young. I mean, she's a teenager, but she'd never seen the Grand Canyon. So we walked all the way, to the edge and then said, open, so she could breathe that in, that view and that experience, because it's more than eyes, the vastness of that and other nature moments like that for us is really huge. And I was commenting how I also felt like that was being seen for the first time, for me again. so all in a day, it's just like that. All these things that can happen in a day can be pretty miraculous. Miracles are every day. It's like having your satellite dish, some people say, open wide enough so you can let these things in, so you recognize them, because it's all around us. And that was kind of a moment like that. So that did inspire that piece, thinking back on that moment. And then the other piece, Sparkle at Sunset, that's a picture I took that I was just in November in Costa Rica, because I do these, I play music at these various retreats. So that is guitar again, but I bring in a little bit of like ambient beds and things to be a little bit more. It's got a little poppy feel, a little vibe there that's kind of very fun and innocent and sparkling. So,
And you in fact have an ambient album coming out in April called Journey by Starlight.
Yes.
That Tom is mastering and Diane is promoting. Tell me a little bit about that.
That has been worked on mostly throughout 2025. On again, off again pieces that I'm working. They're not all that bright light, but they go deep. Some of it, like the Antares one, some of these I sent to my friends, like, okay, tell me, what did this connect you to? And that one in particular, two of these friends said, oh, this is, like, it felt like they were connecting with like the Antares, the mantis people, and they'll have these kind of trips. And some of the other ones are just exploring really different timbres and building up with, I think dynamically a lot more than I have in a while. Also the flute I'm making very, it's a main instrument in two of the pieces, just the Native American flute. What I'm finding as I play more and work with different things is really that breath. Like, you breathe when you play guitar. I mean, that's why I was so good playing for yoga classes, because I breathe with the posture that they are doing while I'm playing the guitar, and that delivers, right? Playing the flute, and it's literally breath, is really neat. And I just wish I could get a flute that I could play with more notes. Not just this, usually kind of like, so I can play more stuff, I think I have about 8 flutes, all different keys and sizes, 2 drones. It's pretty neat, but I just want one where I can at least a couple octave chromatic scale without having to figure out, okay, how to play a whole, like a saxophone or a side flute or something. So,
I mean, I know you have three singles coming out from that.
Yeah, those will come. So I set the week up, and I had to get very organized with things for 2 reasons this year. We just put our house on the market. So it meant no more dining room full of singing bowls and fragile instruments and microphones in a closet. And I had to get very organized, and less access to my studio right now. So what I have done is arrange for, since last Friday, or no, 2 Fridays ago, to have a release out every 2 weeks. Yeah. So that will be these 3 guitar singles, 3 from Journey by Starlight, and then the album, and then I'll get to the Solfeggio album next. But
That's a lot of promotion.
yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. But, I just, I don't want to slow my flow. Even if things get a little bit under the radar, which they have, like last year, there's a couple things that went out that probably like just, people are like, wait, we just heard new music from her. What's she doing? But, fans care, fans want it. Maybe not every radio programmer wants to hear it again, but I don't want that to define my output. I want me to define it, keep it in
Right on.
in my control, because ultimately this is what I'm supposed to do, Yeah.
That's your mission.
Absolutely.
Hey, I want to jump back to a really interesting song that seemed a little different, In the Fifth Dimension.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that one.
That's funny because, well, I bought this really cool electric, a headless Strandberg, and like, man, I haven't even used it, So I just was playing around and getting in that groove, and it's very jazzy. And in fact, just today, the Steve Shepard, One World Music, sent that they started, I think it's a new jazz program. And he put it and sent me the Mixcloud link, and I was listening to it. And before he gets to mine, he says, now here's an artist you wouldn't expect on this kind of playlist. And he said that piece. So yeah, I mean, there's no boundaries. I know some of my colleagues will create monikers, so they can release, on a Friday, they can be this name and that name, and, Buttercup and, James, whatever. And,
I mean, Diane Arkenstone has a few personas that she released on.
Yeah. And I'm just like, this is who I am. It's that, and it's also this, and it's that. And I don't see it as a weakness. I see it as maybe frustrating marketing people, but it shouldn't frustrate people who like the music I make. They should hear all kinds of stuff to think about it,
Well, I love
That's
that you're very creative, and you're very, you have a lot of diversity, and you're obviously really inquisitive about sound and all the instruments that help you convey what you're feeling inside.
Yeah, right. And that should never have to be stifled by thinking, oh, this is not very new age. What do I do? Or, one of my ideal things would be to, have a way of making instruments, working with metallurgy and understanding materials. And, because I got this big, beautiful gong behind me. And I'm like, oh my God, what if I can make stuff like that, But that's a little bit on the back burner,
That's a new hobby.
Yeah.
I mean, I did something similar where I decided to put out a couple of ambient electric pieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of them I partnered with a young guy named Leo Steinried, who was all of 21 years old at the time at the Manhattan School of Music. And it got on Sirius XM 10 days after I put it out. And I thought, okay, that gamble worked.
Yeah. And they don't even have to be gambles. They can just be offerings. You offer this, you offer that, and it's out there. Someone will benefit from it. Yeah. I was going to jump back to another unique thing about Journey by Starlight is the album art on it, because there's an aspect. I mean, you see, some of my stuff is like made by me, made by friends, paintings of friends, some AI, but AI is like the thing that I like about the cover for the 3 singles and this one is it's real astrophotography. It's pictures taken from a telescope from my cousin in Michigan, and with his permission to put them. And I just think they're beautiful. I mean, they're real living scenes, and it fits so well with Journey by Starlight. So that's another contribution of that album, besides just some deep imagination and some more timbral explorations with stuff. I like it a lot, that album. I'm hoping it's really enjoyed by a large audience. Yeah.
Love that. And
Yeah.
then you've got something coming, a 10-track album, Healing in the Harmonic Field.
Yes.
Tell me
Yes.
about
Yes.
that.
So this is something that, even though it doesn't sound again like a sound immersion, it grows out of that because the more I'm working, with within the healing communities, the wellness modalities, the targeted frequency things that solfeggio brings, which I don't even know if people realize the original origin, the Guido's hand and the Utrema, all these things. But nowadays, we have very specific frequencies targeting certain achievements, like if you need grounding, okay, this, the 174 hertz is intended for that. And it goes up the scale to 963. And so I've chosen like one word for each frequency. So one descriptive word on the album for each frequency. The tonality of each piece had to be adjusted for the scale to work as well. But on some of them, we probably won't even hear the tone. It's embedded. It's still impactful, but it's not, like the higher ones. Like I didn't want to all through it, but some of them you hear. But the intention there is that you will feel that. But it is blanketed in, very beautiful, relaxing music, and I've made each one over 15 minutes each. So it's a big project because I used...
Is that finished or you're still working on that?
Oh, it's finished. I just got to figure out the launch plan, Yeah, no, it's finished. In fact, I don't know if you know Elion or Mike Rogers. He just finished the covers on each single with me. And they're really cool. I'm really happy with that. Even though it's not, real pictures, it's the other side, but well done. So anyways, I drew on what I would like to experience in a meditation, not verbal, just the music, just for the, the kind of going in and going deep, because I listened to sometimes and I thought, okay. And that was kind of the litmus test for each one. I would finish it and then I'd have to find like 20 minutes where I could just like relax and put this on and see what it did for me. And so I'm really excited about that. Yeah. But it's just a TBA project, and I don't know that it can even hit things like, Sirius XM. I don't think they're going to entertain 18-minute long track. They might. I don't know. I know I can put it on Bandcamp. I know I can put it on my website, but I don't know if it'll be on the DSPs or not because it's mostly there to serve.
Popular at yoga studios.
Yeah, or with these retreats and whatnot. Yeah.
Right on. And are there any new instruments or sounds you're exploring, or are you always looking for new things?
I like to look for new things. Yeah. I'm not in a place right now, since I said we're like getting ready to move. I've been finding myself selling, not buying. So I sold my sitar. I sold a cello. I just like these things that seem fragile to move. I'm like, if I need it in the next place, I'll get another. I have an oud from Turkey. Like I need to sell and things like that. So, yeah, I just like to see where it takes, where things take me. What will be the opportunity?
And are you moving to a cooler or a warmer climate?
Definitely warmer. We can't take this much longer. But that's all TBA, so we'll figure it out when the house sells. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
And how do you envision your music evolving? I mean, it's like a flower that's blossoming now in so many ways. Do you see anything ahead of you?
More expansion, honestly. That expansion might take place just in terms of intention. I don't even know if it'll be discernible. But I think some of this is going to be the finer and finer tuning of myself as a person. And I think that that's where, that's the next stage, bringing that flow state I have when I'm playing instruments, when I'm making music, bringing that as a component to just when you wake up in the morning, that, you are in that flow state. You don't have to do any of the rest of stuff. That's who you are, and that can only create more and more limitless music. Yeah. Yeah. That's my sense.
I love
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
and any message you'd like to convey to your listeners?
Really, of course, gratitude. Just grateful that people are out there. You forget sometimes when you're working on something, or you let yourself look too many times at data points, which I'm not good at reading anyways. I need an arrow go up or down, and and that's as clear as it gets for me. But it's great to be reminded, going on socials and just having people speaking from the heart who get your music from a whole different part of the world. So I really do appreciate that. Just to be supported and to feel love, and then to transmit and embed our music like you as well. Like, just embed it with the love that we're here to share. That's music is that. Vibration is life.
Beautiful. And anything you want to talk about that we haven't covered?
What about you and I doing something together?
We can.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, you
I'd
have a
like to
lot
talk
of
about
content
that.
coming out, so I wouldn't want it to get lost in the shuffle of everything
No,
going
you
on.
remember,
So
I don't care about that. Don't worry about that.
yeah,
It's just like it comes in its time. Yeah. So
we'll
yeah,
definitely do something. I would
yeah,
love that.
yeah. Me too. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank Michelle Qureshi for joining me on this episode of Shambhu Sessions. I hope this conversation has offered a window into her very soulful artistry and her commitment to healing through sound. To explore more of Michelle's music, visit michellequreshi.com, and I'll put a link to her website in the podcast description. If this episode moved you, please like, follow, and share Shambhu Sessions wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Shambhu, and until next time, stay open, stay inspired, and keep listening.
Thank you.